kick things off here. Okay, hi everyone, welcome, and thank you so much for joining today's virtual event hosted by PowerToFly and Facebook. My name is Lauren Haggerty, and I am the Director of Marketing and Community here at PowerToFly, a female-run company with a mission to fast-track gender equality by upskilling and connecting women to roles in highly visible sectors. I'm based in New York State, and I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Facebook over the past several weeks. In these extraordinary and unprecedented times, PowerToFly is proud to present these virtual events so we can all have an opportunity to learn and digitally meet our community. Over the past 2 years, PowerToFly has hosted over 300 virtual and in-person events in partnership with both global enterprises and fast-growing startups. Whether online or in person, at all of our events, we strive to foster honest and open conversations about topics that really resonate with skilled professional women and allies. And today's discussion with Facebook's leaders will be no different. Founded in 2004, Facebook's mission is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. Over 2 billion people use Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or Messenger every month to stay connected with friends and family, to discover what's going on in the world, and to share and express what matters to them. Today, we will take a deeper dive with the technologists behind this household name. And with that, let's get started. So we've got a great lineup of speakers for you today who will introduce themselves in just a moment. And then we will dive deeper into their current projects and career journeys. I've gotten to chat with all of our panelists today before our discussion, so I'm really looking forward to diving deeper into their careers and their journeys, and also having them share their thoughts with all of you. Before I kick off with our formal agenda, I do quickly want to run through some housekeeping items to help give you the best experience throughout this conversation. So to begin, if you are disconnected from the online presentation or have a bad connection, you can always call in from a landline or your mobile phone. You can find this dial-in number in your audio panel right now. We kindly ask that you please mute yourself when you are not speaking. If you are hearing impaired, you can find a link to the live transcript of the event in the chat. If you need it, just message Rob from PowerToFly and he will share it with you. If you are comfortable, please feel free to turn your videos on. And if you have a question, feel free to start typing them into the chat. The PowerToFly team is also online to help you if you have a more pressing question. Make sure to check out powertofly.com/career to see our daily virtual events. This event is being recorded and you will receive the recording in the next few days. We also love feedback at PowerToFly, so make sure to complete our quick 2-minute survey, which you will receive at the end of the event once we're concluded here. So without further ado, I want to give you a quick look at our agenda today. Just a reminder, this is a safe space, so feel free to type your questions into the chat box at any time during the presentation, or ask it live during our Q&A session at the very end. And if you sent us a question or a topic when you registered, we will be sure to touch on those as well. Finally, we will end by telling you a little bit more about Facebook, which I really want everyone to stick around for. So I'm going to move quickly through this, but I'm super excited to introduce our panel. So to get started, Liangxiao, why don't you kick off our introductions and tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role at Facebook?
Thank you, Lauren. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm Liangxiao, and currently I'm Engineering Director at Facebook. And I support Payments.org, which powers all payments use cases across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger, such as ads, donation, and P2P. And recently, also, we are supporting announced shops, rooms efforts at Facebook. And we're also working on Facebook Pay, a consumer payments product for people to use it in their daily life. So before payments, I had spent 7+ years in ads at Facebook. Currently, I'm based in Seattle office. And at home, I'm busy with 2 kids, and 12 years old and 6 years old. Thanks.
Thanks for being here, Liangxiao. I'd love to introduce our next panelist, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I work in the product security area at Facebook. So I work with teams across Messenger to help them figure out what their security goals are and kind of help design projects and architectures to help them execute on those goals.
Thanks for being here, Rachel. Okay, next we have Connie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Connie. I work out of the Menlo Park headquarters in the Bay Area in California. I'm an engineering manager managing a team of people working on dating. So actually, Facebook is trying to help people find romantic relationships, hopefully eventually your significant others. Before that, I was working on Messenger for a couple of years, and then I switched to also work on Portal by Facebook before coming to dating.
Very cool, Connie. I can't wait to dive more into that. So with that, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker today to wrap up our introductions and provide today's welcome address. So please welcome Ginger.
Thanks, Lauren, and thanks for this opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Ginger Holt. I'm an infrastructure data scientist manager. Our team does data science to support the infrastructure business at Facebook, building and scaling, growing Facebook infrastructure to support those billions of users that Lauren referred to earlier. I'll talk a little bit more about Facebook in general, but just to introduce myself first, I was working in Menlo Park for a while, and then we just transferred to Seattle early March, right when this whole pandemic was starting, so that was interesting. I have a 1.5 and a 3-year-old who you may hear in the background, hopefully not too distracting, but they keep me busy. And my Zoom background, it's actually, for those math nerds out there, it's fractals, but I use it to make my children happy about the whole Frozen fractal. They're into Frozen right now, so that's my Zoom background. So just to give you some more insight on Facebook and why I chose to come to Facebook. I've worked at many large companies in the past and doing the same type of work, which is forecasting. But I chose Facebook. One quote I heard was, "You should optimize career and job selection based on people, work, and money in that order." And I feel like kind of all of those are good for me at Facebook. So just to talk a little bit more about the people from the leadership, especially during this COVID situation, the leadership has really supported its people, giving them the ability to take leave, up to 10 weeks of leave to care for children and, family members. We just got off a company-wide announcement from our CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, announcing kind of an optional, more permanent work from home for some folks. So, really value the leadership that we have and their, just being able to value their employees so much. Back to people, my colleagues. So the colleagues I work with, I tell people I'm in meetings all day, but it's actually very rewarding for me because the meetings are productive and I'm interacting and talking to other people and solving very challenging problems and mentoring and giving them technical guidance to solve the problems. So we try to hire people that will succeed in the environment that we have at Facebook. Our culture, our values, and the specific job function that you'll do. I've managed at other places where, the projects that people work on are very top down. And at Facebook, I feel like that we do try to give a lot of flexibility to what people are working on, whether that be, their strengths or their interests. So we try to give people a lot of say in that. And then, so that's the people aspect. The work aspect, You know, working at this scale is just very challenging and very unique set of problems that we try to tackle. So again, I'm infrastructure data science, so we support all the infrastructure teams that are building and scaling Facebook infrastructure. So some of these things include capacity planning, you know, how much compute, storage, network do we need to build to support all of these Facebook users, you know, making that infrastructure more reliable, more efficient, and also, you know, security and privacy aspects of how to make sure that we're secure and users' data is private. And then, yeah, the last aspect is money. I think, you know, we try to be very competitive, and, you know, this whole work from home, you know, being able to have that flexibility, and there are just a lot of benefits that Facebook gives its employees. So I really found it a very rewarding job, and I see myself there as a career, and happy to answer more questions that you have. I think Lauren has already compiled a few, so looking forward to hearing you know, all the interesting questions out there for us.
Thank you so much, Ginger. I'm super excited for this because I'm a daily Facebook user myself. So thank you for shining a light on the inside and behind the scenes of this incredible organization. So just like you said, we're going to dive right in and talk with more incredible leaders at Facebook. So I want to begin with a couple of questions that, like I said, we pre-submitted for our team here. So I want to start with this question for Connie. So Connie, you started at Facebook as an intern, and you are now an engineering manager. Can you talk a bit more about that transition, especially how the organization supported you? I'd also love to hear about how the company has evolved over the course of your more than 6 years here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lauren. So as you said, I started out as an intern. I actually did 2 internships. I just couldn't stay away. After my second internship, I came right back for full time, didn't want to go anywhere else. So I started out working on Messenger as a software engineer doing Android work. Really loved working on something that I used every day, my friends use every day, that my family used every day. Learned a lot about how to grow an app and working on kind of a more mature product. I then switched to kind of help create a new 0 to 1 effort. I got to be one of the first engineers helping create what we shipped as Portal by Facebook. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a consumer hardware device that lets you do kind of hands-free smart video calling. It was awesome to get to work on something more hardware-based. Then a couple of years ago, I switched to the dating team where I am now. And at that time, I had a manager, and she kind of started mentioning to me, it seems like you're really strong in mentoring and growing relationships with people, thinking about how to grow teams and thinking about product strategy, and kind of encouraging me to think about exploring management. And actually throughout my years at Facebook, I had a lot of opportunities to sort of dabble in that. So I was an intern manager several times. I was also an intern director, so managing other intern managers. Loved having one-on-ones with people that I was tech leading. And so with sort of a little push from my manager at that time, because I was quite scared, and also a lot of support from my peers and my team, I made the switch last year to becoming a manager. I really don't think I would have done that without the support from my manager and my peers at that time to kind of go outside of my comfort zone. So I'm super grateful for having that support and the opportunities at Facebook. In terms of how the company has changed, a lot actually. So I think even my first internship in 2012, we were mostly just a company working on Facebook apps. So mostly just like newsfeed, profile, that was pretty much it. And so over the years, it's been amazing to see the breadth of opportunities in terms of like, you know, products that we work on, Instagram, WhatsApp, as well as investments in other areas like artificial intelligence. I got to work on consumer hardware. You know, we're doing a lot in virtual reality. Now, you know, sort of entering the dating space, all these kind of new ventures paired with the ability that it's like so easy for us to change teams. And I'm always looking for kind of new opportunities. I think that's part of the reason why I've stayed at Facebook for so long. And that's one of the changes that I've seen that I actually really, really love, is that breadth of opportunity.
So cool. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about your experience. It's really fascinating. Next, we have a question for Rachel. So Rachel, as we live more and more of our lives online, security is talked about more than ever before. What is Facebook's philosophy towards security, and what is your role in fulfilling that mission?
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody uses kind of online services all the time these days, and it's paramount that it be safe for you and easy to use those features by default. I think someday we all hope for an internet where everybody feels safe using online services by default. Now, how do we achieve that? So we do a whole lot of software development. I think security has historically been, has had a lot of kind of manual processes to sort of ensure that security and to really get to where we need to be, where everybody feels safe online. We've had to sort of develop some new technology. So we do a lot of automation, a lot of static analysis. Now this enables us to take a smaller number of security engineers and do a whole lot more security engineering. So there have been some articles on some of the static analysis we've done recently, but this enables us to really provide a lot stronger guarantees than anybody could have a decade ago. So I think automation, figuring out how to make the software that the developers write safe by default. If you're writing software, and I think this applies for anybody, if we can make the tools the developers have all the nice security mechanisms we like, able to make your experience safe by default, but they don't have to worry about it too much, it just works. That's kind of our philosophy. We have a really strong sort of foundational set of APIs that everybody uses to build upon. And I think that's true, and that applies well for other companies as well. It's these kinds of approaches, safe by default APIs, automation, static analysis, and tooling that really allows you to do a whole lot more security and at the kind of scale we work at. And I think that can really apply to anybody.
Great answer. Thank you so much, Rachel. Next, we have a question for Ginger. So Ginger, your group is responsible for strategic analysis that enables Facebook's continued growth. Can you talk in a bit more depth about how you do that and how it relates to Facebook's motto that the journey is 1% finished?
Yes, I can. So one of our main roles in infra data science is to help with capacity planning. So, again, how much compute, how much storage, how much networking capability do we need to build to support all of our users and all of the new products and new product features that we want to build. My data scientists do a lot of forecasting on that growth. So like how many users are we going to have at a geographic level, at a product level? And we really need to do this in the long term because data centers take a long time to build and to secure land and get the power, and a lot of lead time needs to go into those decisions. So we're constantly doing updates to our forecast based on new product roadmaps, new growth, new products. So that's why I say it's relates to the 1% finished, because our forecasting is never done. Things are always changing. One quote I like to use is that all models are wrong, but some are useful. So, people say, oh, isn't it so frustrating to have to constantly update? Like you're always going to be wrong no matter what, because there's things that you wouldn't foresee, like pandemics, or, just any like special events, special holidays that we may or may not have been able to properly model. So, I say, no, this is actually job security for forecasters. So, I see it as a positive, not a negative. So yeah, we're always going to be wrong, but that's the challenging part, is that things are always changing, and it's exciting.
What a great philosophy. Thank you so much, Ginger. I really appreciate that. Our next question here is for Liangxiao. So Our question is, you have held many roles during your time at Facebook, beginning as an individual contributor. How did you know when it was time to transition to a role, especially a manager level one? And how did Facebook support you on your journey?
Great question. So I joined Facebook as IC. I was a IC and a tech leader on the team for about 2 years. To be honest, I was not prepared to be a manager at all because I think management is all about politics. So I would not like it, right? So then I remember when my manager at that time asked me first time if I would consider be the manager on the team. He told me I already doing a mentorship work and I care about the people. I be able to identify people's gap and be able to help them to grow. So I was already doing management work. I said, oh, that sounds easy. I can do it. But the problem is the timing was not quite right. He asked me was at the time I was around a month away to deliver my baby. Then I had to say no to him. So because I was experiencing a lot life-changing, I don't want to add more pressure to myself, right? So then during my maternity leave, I thought more about it, and I actually would love to get a try because I think it will help me to grow a different sets of a skill set. And then after I came back, I was surprised to see they kept the role for me. And then I took down the role. And one thing I really appreciate the company did is they found me an external mentor, and she meet with me like bi-weekly. And this helped me a lot, answered me a lot of questions. Of course, company had manager trainings, manager circles. This also helped me a lot on transition from IC to be a manager. Then along the way, I would say my leadership at Facebook really supports me, and they help me to identify my gaps, give me constructive feedbacks, and find the right person to mentor me. To be honest, a mentor, you don't need to have a fixed mentor. Like anyone you feel is good at a certain area you are not good at, or you want to grow even more, you can find that person. Typically, the leadership at Facebook is very open and to help me out. And also, there are a bunch of leadership trainings to help you to be prepared to grow even faster. Also, at the same time, my leadership has empowered me growth by giving me bigger challenges to handle. This helped me to learn along the journey.
Thank you for that answer, Liangxiao. It really gave a nice insight into that process and that it's not always perfect and linear. So thank you so much. We're going to skip ahead here because there's already so many great questions. We're going to move on to answering some of your questions, beginning with, let me just pull it up quickly. So as you think about the future of security business, what are you most excited about or concerned about? And anyone on the panel can take this question if you want to just raise your hand.
I can start, but other people are welcome to chime in. I think for me personally, I think we need to get to a place where the kind of tools people have to manage their lives online are much simpler. I think security people probably hate passwords as much as most people do. There's a lot of burden of securing your own digital life placed on people in the form of remembering your passwords, having to set up kind of the complex tool set that we have right now. It's all very necessary right now, and it's all very hard to use. And I think we probably have to invent some new things in order to make it a lot simpler, but I think we need to get there, because I think as anybody who's tried to manage their passwords can attest, it's not a good experience, and it needs to be easy. It needs to be easy to use, and it needs to be secure. And what we have right now is hard to use and kind of secure. So I think and this is the whole industry. I think that's a big problem that we need to still solve. Yeah, I think that's a big one. And if we're looking for others, probably phishing, teaching, kind of making it safe for people to use online sites and not get phished, not get lured into fraudulent websites. the internet needs to be a lot easier to use safely. It's easy to use safely. It's not even easy to use safely for security professionals. Like we have some background that we can use to navigate it, but honestly, all of this needs to be a whole lot better, and you shouldn't have to be an expert for any of it. You should be able to do it without having any expertise, and I think that's the hard part that we haven't solved yet. But it's an exciting challenge to solve.
Thank you, Rachel. That's super helpful. This next question is for Ginger. How can women pivot into the tech industry when their background is non-traditional? So a little more specifically, this person is asking, I have a textiles background, and I'm interested in a role that fuses technology and textiles to create innovative products.
Yeah, absolutely. So diversity is actually one of our core company values, and we really find that diversity, having as much diversity as possible, helps us build the best products possible. You know, we have billions of users, so quite a diverse set of user experiences that we want to optimize for. So, we really seek out diversity and really value it as one of our company strengths. So, my experience actually. So I'm in for data scientist manager, and I was a data scientist before they had the word data scientist. So I think, it's a new field, and we're seeing a lot of people from, mostly technical backgrounds, but also non-technical. I think, again, we try to hire for success in the role that you will have, but I definitely think there's plenty of opportunities to fill in those gaps that you may have. I know myself, I was my degree is in statistics, but I lacked a lot of the more technical computer science knowledge on computational complexity, things like that. So I definitely had to fill in those gaps myself. But yeah, I say in general, everyone, we look at diversity, on all aspects, backgrounds, experiences. I would challenge you to, find something that interests you, and then just seek out, help and guidance on how to fill in those gaps if you want to take on a new challenge.
Great answer, Ginger. Thank you so much. Since we are getting so many questions, we're definitely going to keep them all to chat. So if you do have more questions that you want to ask the panel, please start putting them in the chat now. We are getting a ton, so we're not going to be able to cover all of these, but there are definitely some that have been repeated. So thank you, everyone. The next question that I have is for Liangxiao. Sometimes I have to hold back due to the stereotypes of women in this field. How have you navigated around people who have put you down when you were passionate about an area of interest, but they deemed you as emotional?
Yeah, so this is a great question. Actually, I personally had experienced all these. So one thing I would say, especially when I talk to junior women, is I made a mistake in my early stage of a career. I always think whenever I have 100% sure of the answer, I will speak up. And I always hold back and feel others is smarter than me, but in reality, it's not. Later, I learned that people will speak up even they think the answer is 50% right. They speak out so loudly. I thought they are so sure they are they are correct, but later when I invest more, it's not the truth. So my advice to you is don't hold back and really speak up. But you don't need to wait for 100% sure about your answer. The second part is sometimes, even including myself, I could be very emotional. And I remember last time when we talk about the organizational change, I had a disagreement with my peer. The reason is I really care about my people, and I really want my people to get a good arrangement. So I've been a little bit emotional, and what I learned is this is not going to help. I do have a passion, but the tactics can change. So I consulted with other VPs around the company, say, hey, how do you handle this? So their suggestion to me is, if you find you're emotional, first of all, you can say, hey, let's table this. Let's talk about it through email. or let's say if someone come to you say, can we discuss about this? If you are not have options ready, you can say, hey, let me think about it and table this a little bit. Another thing you can do is work with a person to come up with options together. You can list the option 1, 2, 3 and list the pros and the cons for each options. And this will help you to express what you want, express your passion, but without show this is emotional.
Great answer. I feel like all of us, or the majority of us, have probably heard that at least once in their career. So those are some really great strategies. And Ginger, did you have a follow-up to that?
Yeah, I think this is a really important topic, and I think a lot of people have experienced this to some degree. I would say, I experienced my own issue. Learning curve with this. I think Facebook as a company really values feedback and fast feedback. So I think one of Cheryl's mottos is, or mantras, one of them is that a company is as successful as quickly as they can incorporate feedback. So we really try to build this culture, and you may hear after a presentation, oh wow, I wish you would have included this, or it's just it's kind of different from a lot of other companies that I've been at. So I think it took some adjusting, but we really try to and you get used to it because like everybody's doing it, and you don't take it personally or anything. So I think that was a little muscle that I had to build coming to Facebook. And another point I wanted to make is, I myself have received feedback in the past on, being there is gender bias. Like we have classes at Facebook kind of making this aware to everybody of how these biases can creep in even unconsciously. So we have classes like managing bias and enforcing, or like inclusion classes, things to make everybody feel heard, and managing all of those biases that can creep in. So one feedback that I've gotten was, I need to be more authoritative, own the room more. So I think these aren't necessarily things that you have to do to be a good leader, and I think being like authentic leader is really encouraged at Facebook. So there is no stereotype of, okay, if you want to make director or VP level, you have to do this, this, and this. So I think we really try to encourage being your own authentic leader, however that looks like. And so that's kind of what I just wanted to add.
That was a great addition. Thank you so much, Ginger. Really appreciate that. I have another question for Connie, and the question is, so everyone, or most of us, experience a stagnation in our learning curve in our professional life. How can we combat this situation and react in a positive and driven manner?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have definitely faced this a lot myself, and I think that's part of the reason why I've changed teams so often at Facebook. I never like feeling comfortable. I don't want to call it bored. I don't think I've ever been bored. I feel like I always start out on a team, like when I first started on Messenger, and I have a lot of anxiety, and I'm like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I'm just going to try to absorb and try to figure out what's going on. And then after like a year, a couple of years, I was like, okay, I have the hang of this. I understand how to build new features and learn and iterate from user feedback and research and how to ship things. And so after a certain point, I felt like I was getting comfortable at that, and I saw myself starting to teach other people about how to do that, which I think is great. But then at a certain point, if I feel like I'm doing too much teaching and not enough learning, I always want to find the next scary situation to put myself in. And so that's why I went looking for a new team. We have this program at Facebook called a Hack a Month, where you can literally hack for a month on any team that you want to, and just like working on whatever project you want to, which I did. And so that's how I ended up hacking on sort of like a machine learning consumer hardware team. This eventually led to me helping start the portal team, and was completely different. It was a hardware project. I had never worked on hardware before. I never imagined that I would be doing something like that, being a software engineer. And I was insanely scared, but I loved it. And I felt like I learned so much doing a 0 to 1 that I had never done before. Then the same thing happened after I shipped Portal. I felt like I had really gotten a great handle on learning how to define a new product from scratch, doing a 0 to 1. I went looking to see where else at the company I could learn from, something else that I had never done before. So I think that if you ever find yourself feeling comfortable, like you kind of finally understand what you're doing, it's really easy to just stay there because it's safe and it feels like, okay, I'm becoming an expert. I know what I'm doing. Finally, I have confidence. But that's exactly the moment where you should challenge yourself to find the next scary thing and continue growing.
Yeah.
Did you want to add something, Rachel?
No, I 100% agree. I think like for me, my career is kind of a long exercise and just staying really engaged. I think it's if you can keep learning your whole career, you're never going to get bored. You're going to be interested the whole time. So just as she said, like I try and do the same thing. And if you feel too comfortable, find a new place that has people that you can learn from. You always want to be learning from the people around you, and you always want to be surrounded by kind of bigger fish. So, always move out of your comfort zone, as she said.
So I think both of your answers actually perfectly segue into this other question that I have to ask from Ava. Have any of you ever felt or faced issues like imposter syndrome, and how have you overcome them? I'm seeing the consecutive nods, so who wants to kick us off there?
Go ahead, Rachel.
I
just spoke, so.
No, it's fine. I mean, I think could do it.
This is one of my favorite topics because I remember that I felt this obviously like since I remember like college, right, being one of the few women in my CS class going like, okay, I don't belong. I've literally gotten comments from guys in my class saying, oh, you only got the internship because you were a woman. And so then I'm like, okay, wow, I really don't belong here. Constantly questioning myself there. And I think what really helped was I remember there was one Women's Leadership Day. Facebook has this Women's Leadership Day that we do every year. It's like an event internally for all the women at the company. Cheryl usually is the keynote speaker. And I remember one year she was talking about imposter syndrome, and she was talking about how she still struggles with that today. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, you're Sheryl Sandberg. How could you possibly have imposter syndrome? But she was so real and raw with us and talking about how she also faces it and struggles with it. And I think what helped there was just telling myself, it's okay to feel it. It's normal. It's natural. Cheryl feels it. It's totally okay. And I feel like that really helped a lot with that feeling. Like, I don't think I could ever really get it to fully go away, right? You're always going to be questioning yourself and hearing, people are always there's always going to be some number of negative people around you. But I think just being okay and knowing it's normal really took away some of that anxiety. And then Rachel, I'll pass off to you if you have better advice than me.
No, I think it's very similar. I definitely get imposter syndrome. I get it pretty it's always there. And I almost think it's beneficial in a sense, because I'll look at roles that I want and I'll just be, there's no way I'm just not qualified. I can't possibly do. And so like, I almost overreact and overstudy, like preparing for them. And then when I get there, I kind of like have this big sense of imposter syndrome, and I fill that hole with books. And that's always kind of worked for me. It's like, it can be a powerful motivator. It would be great if it weren't there, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can help you too.
Ginger?
Yeah, just to reiterate, like we do have some pretty badass women leaders at Facebook to look up to. So I think, and they also, they also give us opportunities to learn from these really great leaders. So, they have, as Connie mentioned, Women's Leadership Day. We have a lot of coaching circles that are held by senior leaders where we talk about different topics like imposter syndrome and authentic leadership, and just providing the ability to connect with other people that may be feeling the same way you are. So and then last year I was part of this coaching circle, and led by a couple of senior women leaders, and at the end, they all gave us this bracelet. It's kind of after this book called something like Be a Badass or something like that. But it was a bracelet that was engraved with badass. So it's like, it's kind of a good, if you're having a bad day, you just like look down at your bracelet and remember that, you're not an imposter.
I love that. Amazing. And Liangxiao, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
I think I agree with all like Connie, Rachel, and Ginger has been saying, and it happens always, like all the time. I don't think this is only for women, probably for men happens as well, right? So I think this is normal, and don't be afraid of use this as an opportunity for you to learn and also get a support from the women around you. That will help.
Great advice. Another great question from Asma, and she's asking, I've realized that in order for you to thrive in a company, it's very important that who you are aligned to the company culture. How would you describe Facebook's culture? Any takers?
I can start with that, and anyone else please add. So for me, and I would say Facebook is really like one thing I think, because I worked at other companies before Facebook. So one thing really like strikes me is Facebook is really has an empowering culture, empowering people. And not only I remember when we do the manager trainings for new managers join Facebook, the one thing we tell them is like, if the ICs on your team went there to do a mock review, but you did not get invited, don't be surprised. That's normal. And your job as a manager is empowering people and help to amplify their skill set. So this is something I definitely think is one identity of Facebook. There's several other things like Ginger always talking about how to be authentic yourself. This we talk a lot about it. We really embrace diversity and authentication as well. So another thing which surprised a lot of people, especially when I hired a lot of managers outside Facebook to Facebook, one thing really surprised them is how we get normal to be construct feedbacks. So feedback is a gift, right? So I remember I hired several managers outside of Facebook, and the first one is try to be nice. Things give people construct feedback is a bad thing. And then at the end, his post result is really bad. People think he does not care about them, and they did not help them to grow. So that's why people, not only from manager and from all the ICs here, really get used to construct feedbacks, because everyone here is to grow. Because all the managers here is not only helping them to say grow on their project, on the team, is prepare for their career to grow. Yeah, so I'll stop here, let others to add.
Connie?
Yeah, I do want to challenge the question a little bit though. I don't necessarily think that we try to hire people to fit into the mold of like some existing Facebook culture, and oh, if you don't agree with that, we're not going to hire you. I don't really agree with that. I think the culture comes and changes over time based on the people that work at the company and that make that company. Like, we create the culture ourselves. And I think that falls a lot along with what Liangxiao was saying, which is it's a very people first company. And so a lot of the responsibility is going to fall on, it's not coming top down from leaders and we're just, like coder monkeys doing the work. A lot of it is going to fall on you as the engineer, any of us. We are the ones who are responsible for figuring out what we should work on and why. And a lot of the projects in that direction comes from everyone at the company. And it's not that we're just being, told what to do. So I agree with Liangxiao. It's very much like a bottoms up, very empowering thing, which I thought was actually quite scary, especially like when I came as an intern, having a lot of responsibility, kind of like, oh, here's like a rough project plan, but there's a lot of room for you to figure out what you want to work on next and how to ship this. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. So that was super scary for sure. But I think recognizing that for the opportunity that if you have ideas and you have an opinion and you have a voice, that's going to make an impact. And that's actually what we want from everyone at the company.
Rachel?
Yeah, I think the one thing, I echo everything they already said. That's all very true. And I think like one thing that I particularly connect to, we talk about openness a lot, and it's really pretty powerful. Like for most projects, products, conversations around how they work, that all happens pretty much out in the open at the company, on kind of our internal discussion groups. I've worked at a lot of companies, and that's not necessarily true everywhere. So there's a lot of companies where the information is a little bit more siloed, and it's really not. Like I work with, oh man, I work all across Messenger, and if I need to connect to a product, I will find the product discussion, I'll read about it, I'll start engaging the conversation, I'll find people who are working on it and connect to them. And I work on security, so we'll sometimes have like some things that we need to do, and they just say, okay, all right, yeah, we need your help, how do we do it? There's not a lot more formality than that, which is amazing. You can get stuff done so much quicker that way when the conversations happen out in the open like that. So people, when you're doing something, you talk about it in the groups, and other people will jump in and offer help, which is wonderful. That's it's a way to kind of expand your impact. It's great.
Fantastic. And Ginger, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, it's pretty well covered, but yeah, like I think one of the other things about our culture is that, when I first joined about 3 years ago, we had like 5 company values. One of them was move fast and break things. And since then, it's just changed to move fast. I think, we don't want to break things if we don't have to, but yeah, I think a little bit more emphasis now on reliability, but being able to move fast and fail fast, specifically, and like figure out if something's a good idea, and we try to figure that out quickly. It's very different. I came a past career was in academia, and having the ability to release something when it's perfect is it's not really valued here. So it's really more about moving fast and getting feedback as quickly as possible, and doing that requires all of these other things like being open, and so
I love it. Thank you all for sharing. That's such a great perspective on culture. So I'm going to ask these 2 questions in tandem because I think they tie pretty nicely in together. But Rosa wants to know from all of the panelists, what is the best career or life advice you've ever received? And then Anne wants to know, outside of your immediate work responsibilities, are there other things at Facebook that you're really passionate about? Who would like to go first? It's a fun question. Rachel? Oh, you're muted.
Was it what's the best advice you've ever received?
Yes.
What's the best advice you've ever received? Oh, wow. Okay, well, I mean, I think I received it in a different format, but like it's somebody kind of gave me advice similar to what Connie gave just a couple of minutes ago about always moving out of your comfort zones. Find like if you're like your career will change over like however many years. Over a 30-year period, the technology changes, how the industry works changes, how companies work change. And really the only part that is consistent is you and what you're focusing on. And so it really doesn't matter what your company is doing or what other companies are doing, or even if the industry is doing. The only real thing to focus on is yourself and growing your skill set. And the work you do and the jobs you're in, the companies you're at will be a side effect to that. So sort of see what the next thing for you to learn is right where you're at, and don't be too like nailed down to what you're doing at the time. Like I started out as a software engineer working on device drivers, and now I'm a security person doing architecture. And there's like a billion steps in between. And don't worry too much about what the jobs are. Worry more about whether your skill set is growing. And if you do that, you're going to be fine.
Great advice. Connie, we'll go to you next and then Liangxiao.
I wanted to build on what Rachel said. So I think one of the best pieces of advice I got was, change is going to be the only constant. So instead of always being afraid of change, like for example, even now with the pandemic, so much has changed. If you start to build resilience to accept that change and it actually, figure out how to use that to make yourself stronger, find a new opportunity, how to adapt, you're making yourself, anti-fragile. Instead of trying to cover yourself and shield from all of that change, because it's always going to happen, the better that you are at accepting that and using it in a positive way, that's going to make yourself stronger and more resilient to that going forward. So definitely what Rachel said resonated with me as well. And as a manager, I've also started applying that to my team. So I know a lot of managers think the most important thing is like shielding your team, right? Protecting them. So, there's like something that's pivoting with a strategy of the company. Let me shield them from that. And I think the better approach from what I've been told for advice is, instead of trying to shield them from that, giving them the context, why this change is happening, here's how you can understand it, here's how you can embrace it, here's why that change is happening and why it matters, then they are, a little bit better at accepting that. And then as change continues to come along, your team will get better at adapting to that and just be a much stronger team going forward.
Great advice, Connie. I'm going to take that back to my team too. Ginger, you want to go next and then Liangxiao?
Oh yeah, so I would say one quote that's resonated with me on is, nobody wakes up every morning and says, I wonder what Ginger needs to succeed in her career. So, just taking the ownership and like seeking out the support and the help you need. It's, at Facebook, I feel like there are a lot of opportunities like, like I guess Liangxiao was sought out for her excellent people skills, kind of encouraged to pursue management, Connie as well. But I think that's not always the case. I think, seeking out opportunities, just, lean in, I guess. And yeah.
Love it. Great answer. Liangxiao?
I think that like my answer is similar along the lines of changing and seeking out opportunities. So someone was telling me is don't be afraid of making mistakes, right? Everyone making mistakes. And a lot of times when you making mistakes, actually it is the time you learn the farthest. So I would say is like taking challenges and don't think about like you are not qualified for certain things, and taking challenges, even if it fails, that's fine. That means you learn through failures. So this will help you to grow faster.
Love it. That so nicely ties into Mariana's question in the chat. So thank you, Liangxiao. One more question I want to get to, probably pretty rapid fire, but this question's from Nola, and they are asking, Facebook is investing a lot in VR and AR. How do you think this work could apply to your specific area? Ginger?
Well, I know, so I don't work specifically on AR, VR, but I know a lot of data scientists in our org do. We have a spatial computing group, and they work on problems, any kind of problem with that needs to be location aware. So I think, a lot in the past they've worked on gathering satellite data imagery to estimate the likely population in a very rural community, so this is for a connectivity initiative on increasing connectivity to the world. So in that, as AR and VR experiences have developed, they have working on a lot, more use cases for that. But yeah, definitely this is a priority, and it's one of our, I guess, top 5 like initiatives for the next 10 years. So you'll see more and more probably opportunities in this. So.
Liangxiao?
So I like this topic because I personally very passionate about AR VR. So before Facebook, I was actually first a few engineer on HoloLens back in Microsoft. So I worked on AR, VR, head tracking, eye tracking, etc. So I'm personally really passionate about AR, VR. I would say AR, VR definitely will help changing people's life, especially for in this pandemic period, right? For work from home remotely, and AR definitely will help on the remote presence, like making sure like you feel connected with the people. But as for like there's many areas AR, VR can change how people like interact during their daily life, as well as, let's say, in my particular area, let's say right now I'm working on payments. Payments is about money. So I haven't thought about how AR gonna apply in the payments, but it would be fun if you really see, it's like when you pay the money digitally, you really see the money flow through, how the money gonna go through. That would be really fun, yeah.
Look, we're innovating as we speak.
Yeah.
I love it. Anyone else, Rachel?
Bingo. I think the how of security probably doesn't change, but the importance of it is probably amplified a little bit, just because if you're having that in-person experience in VR, any sort of security issues with that are going to be super alarming. And so, yeah, I think that how we get there is probably very similar to how we get there with everything else, but like the importance of it is probably amplified.
Awesome. Great. Well, Connie, any last words from you too, since you're the only one who didn't respond to this one?
I think they covered it very
They
well.
Great. Awesome. So we have just about 5 minutes left, and there are a couple quick things that I want to get to before we close out today. So before we end today's event, I just want to share a little bit more about Facebook as an organization. So Facebook is defined by their unique culture, one that rewards impact. They encourage people to be bold and solve the problems they care most about. They work in small teams and move fast to develop new products, constantly iterating. The phrase, "this journey is 1% finished," reminds them that they've only begun to fulfill their mission. As they evolve their journey to bring the world closer, they stay true to the same core values to guide the way they work and the decisions they make every step of the way. Be open, be bold, move fast, focus on impact, and build social value. So with that, you can learn more about Facebook's internal efforts and initiatives, including career development, community belonging, and increasing representation by visiting Facebook's page on PowerToFly. Also, as we wrap up today's virtual chat, please take a moment to visit PowerToFly and check out the many daily virtual events that we have to offer. You can watch our entire library of recorded chats right on our website. You can also follow us on social media or visit our blog, which is updated daily. So one last thing before we close out, I just want to quickly say thank you so much to everyone for being part of our discussion and for joining us for this virtual conversation. Everyone who was on today's call will receive a recording of the conversation, and we will be sending a short 2-minute survey where your feedback will help us continue to present meaningful events like this one. You can actually find that survey link in the chat right now. So once again, thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. Thank you to our incredible panel and speakers from Facebook. We really appreciate you. And right before we wrap up, if anyone is interested in doing a quick group virtual snapshot, Margot from the PowerToFly team is going to take a quick photo. So thank you all so much. Everyone give us a little wave. Awesome. Thank you and have a great holiday weekend. Stay safe. And again, just thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, guys.